What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, our next preseason game is coming up very shortly, and I kind of want to discuss what I'd like to see for that second game. Now, ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, the Chicago Bulls won their first game, and even though there were some bads and some goods in that, we should be very happy that we were able to pick up a win in a game that may not mean much but could bring a lot of confidence for our players in the future. So I want to kind of talk about that, discuss what needs to be discussed, and hopefully let's see if the Bulls can improve on what was their first preseason game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about these Chicago Bulls, and I guess what you would like to see improved with this Bulls team. Now, ultimately, again, I think there's so much you could talk about in this regard. There is so much we could see the Bulls start to improve. But ultimately, let's kind of talk about the lineups first and foremost. I would really like to see the Bulls implement a different starting five. Now, the reason why I feel this way is because I feel like the starting five should not be set in stone. And the more that you see the same starting five go out there in preseason, the more that you're set to believe in your mind that will be the starting five heading into the regular season. So that starting five was Kobe, Zach, Josh Giddey, Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic. That was our starting five in that game against Cleveland. Ultimately, that may be our starting five heading into the regular season. I won't have a problem if that's the case, but I kind of want to see different implementations. I kind of want to see Billy Donovan at least try to give a chance to somebody else to kind of get into that starting lineup. Guys like Matas Buzelis, for example. You could shift him into the power forward for one game and see how he could do with the starting group. Ayo Dosunmu, who was pretty consistent in that game against Cleveland, you could implement him in the starting lineup and see how you do. Even Jalen Smith, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I know it's going to be a shock surprise if you see that, but I wouldn't be opposed to putting Jalen Smith in the starting lineup just to see how he could run with some of the other guys. Ultimately, this is what preseason should be about. Again, I understand if you're, for example, the Boston Celtics and your starting five is set in stone because you won a championship and you know how to win a championship. So, of course, your starting five is going to be there and it's going to stay the exact same. But we are not the Celtics. We are not a competing team. So, spots and competition for places has to be a massive part of our team, because the only way you're going to get better is if you're going to have guys fighting for positions. And I feel like Billy Donovan needs to give those chances to those guys to really fight for that position. Ultimately, you can't say, let's just say an example, we're talking about Matas Buzelis getting into the team. I mentioned it in the last video, right? It's not fair for Matas Buzelis if he can't get into the team because he doesn't get the chance to. So that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I want to see that chance for these Bulls players, and let's hope they could get that chance in the near future. The second thing I want to see improved is very obvious. It's another thing I mentioned a video ago. It is our transition defense. Ultimately, we played faster, that's great, but we couldn't handle when teams were playing faster on us. And for a team that's so motivated to be quicker, you'd expect them to defend the transition as well. And we just didn't do that well enough. So I hope that has been practiced. We haven't played a preseason game in what's felt like forever. I mean, the regular season literally starts in just under 2 weeks, and we've barely played any games. So you get an opportunity now with the days that you've had off to work on those types of things. And I really hope we can defend in transition better. And we'll have to wait and see if we could get the job done in that department or not. But we'll move on from that one because we've kind of already mentioned it. I want to see improved three-point shooting, but I feel like I say that every year. It wasn't terrible. There were some moments where it was really bad. And then, obviously, in the second half, we kind of picked things up a little bit in every department. But it's pretty natural to kind of want the Bulls to improve their three-point shooting. Because, again, they just never seem to be very good at it. We have more improved three-point shooters in the team this season, so I expect that to be a big area of improvement heading into the next game. Keep in mind, it's just one game. It could have just been a bad shooting night. I don't know. The more that we take, hopefully the more that we make. But speaking of, we're talking about shooting threes at a more efficient level. That also comes down to shot IQ. And that was another area where I felt like the Bulls really mishapped in that game against Cleveland. There were a lot of times our shot IQ was just not present. And again, the first half is the perfect example. All you need to do is rewatch that first half. You might not even to rewatch all of it because you'll see it night and day. Between the Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers, see the threes that Cleveland were taking and see the threes that the Bulls were taking. And I think you will understand where I'm coming from here. We didn't have great shot IQ at all in that first half. Now, of course, some of them were good. Some of them were just unbelievable shots. At the end of the day, it comes down to shot IQ. And I feel like if you get better shot IQ, it doesn't necessarily have to be the 3 either. If it's just the right shot to take and make, more times you're going to make it, and then things start to spread. If you're Kobe White, for example, and you're finishing around the rim so easily, you're getting to the rim every single time, you're getting to the foul line, and you're doing your damage with easy and makeable shots, all of a sudden that 3 not only will become easier to make for you because you're confident, but teams will start worrying about driving so much. They're going to give you the 3, and ultimately you make it, and then you're just beating them in multiple areas. I want to see the Bulls kind of dictate a little bit of that in their offense, just taking the right responsible shots, and that can help elevate those more difficult shots in the future, in the second half, or the third quarter and fourth quarter, or even in the second quarter. Those shots that become more difficult will be more likely you'll make them more times than not. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in this timeout as well. And yeah, that's really about it. I guess we could go down the coaching rabbit hole and say I'd like to see different rotations and different lineups. But let's be honest, we saw that in the first game, so I don't really need to mention it here. We saw different matchups. We saw different lineups. We saw the 3-guard system with Kobe, LaVine, and Giddey, and even with Kobe, Ayo, and Giddey, Kobe, LaVine. And again, so many 3-guard systems. It's clear that's what we're going to run in the regular season. But I would like to kind of see a bigger matchup as well. Maybe a Patrick Williams and a Matas Buzelis in the starting lineup and see how that goes. Again, it's all about experiments, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to go into every game feeling like there's a mismatch for the other team to exploit. It's not a nice feeling. And I feel like there's less likely of a chance that happens this season compared to last. Regardless of how I feel, it's still a chance that can happen. And I don't need to, nor do I want to see that happen. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care. And peace.